Inside Story Uganda, real source of political updates.
I told you already the provisional list of the winners for LC5 chairpersons is already out, and we await the Electoral Commission, the NRM Electoral Commission, to come out and declare the winners. But along the way, I'll of course highlight some of the most prominent districts. Honorable Sechikubo, do you look at the president as trying to walk a very tight rope on certain incidents that spoiled the whole election, because some of the incidents were quite glaring that they wouldn't require a tribunal?
I think I agree with what has been presented by the panelists here. The president finds himself between a rock and a hard place. He has set into motion this electoral process. And indeed, that's why I was disturbed and perturbed when Honorable Dombo, director, was saying that now, to measure our success, we have a register. As if the register is by itself is a sine qua non of a good election. No, it's not necessarily that. Probably he's talking about the theories. But where at the polling station, you cannot have a register read out to the potential voters. You cannot have individuals rhyming with the names on the register. Where there are sticks, a squad, guns at the polling stations.
Social media pick up full of sticks, and someone said the voting material for Zimbabwe are being delivered.
Yes. So the director is right when he says we've delivered the register to the people.
They delivered
but the bloated register, where you find a village of barely 3 households, like that of General Katirima, they are mainly 2 homes.
Square miles, yeah, you know, in Zimbabwe.
No, mainly 2 homes. One man, Mukalazi, and his. And there is a village called Bahima. But the vote outcome, when they are tallying, is 400. So for director here to say that now we deliver the register, everything is okay.
What makes it delicate for the president?
No, for the president, I was
be unequivocal about this.
I was coming to that. When you see the army being deployed, when the president is teaching the generals to tinker with elections, when they are out of the barracks, because there are those in active service and those who are supposed to have retired. But as of course you know, even if they retire, they remain part of the UPDF. So once the president is teaching these generals and the soldiers now, he's exposing them to the campaigning and the politics we are involved with. And he does not rein in on them. Who knows tomorrow? Probably they would move away from the constituencies to the national level. Mr. Kagwanjala, my major concern about this is that they start small, they get bold, they get bolder, and who knows where they will end.
You seem to absolve the secretariat and put all the burden onto the president.
That's not my intention, because there are categories. There are people who cause violence. There are people who mismanage the election. That is one aspect. But the generals are part of the, under the command of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Kagwa. Once you talk about generals and their participation in an election, it can't be swept under the carpet. That is very significant. And if at all they came in, of course I understand and I appreciate. Once you retire, you are free to join the civilian life. But they join the civilian campaigns with their militaries, with their escorts, with lorries accompanying them, of soldiers accompanying them, and in the process, they go overboard, shooting people, a person is killed, and Major General Sunday of the Armored Division came to say that, you know, we have the killer, he's with us, but he remains active. So that, and the way you know the president, to me, when he writes, I think the president's directive should be issued immediately. The only concern I have is that those he's writing to have become too big for him. Those he's trying to guide are probably thinking they're on top of the world. So the president's message is welcome,
okay.
but
do you have a sense of relief now that the principal has spoken?
Of course, this is why I'm taking it from there. That's why I'm picking it from there.
Cautiously or generally?
No. I come with open hands. I come to test what the president has stated, not only in words, but has put pen to paper. And we see what comes out of that. Because it would be a mistake on my part not to follow the avenue still open. But now once we do that, then we shall come back to see what is the outcome for one or two decisions, to see what we can do next. And to me, where you have people bigger than the system, this director for communication will communicate, but he's communicating, taking the best. He's not looking at the situation practically as it is.
Oh, his hands are tied.
No. He is one of the finest. He's one of the finest. I remember when I joined the parliament, he was even a commissioner in parliament. But the circumstances that led his ouster from the constituency, he has not told us. The same circumstances are still pertaining now. The very leave alone the other system where he was thrown out. And as a way of saying, no, you can't leave Dombo outside. You need him. At least let him communicate. And that's why he's there. But we missed out on the best of him in parliament. And I'm surprised he's not pointing out that what bedeviled the internal party elections then are still carried. Only that this time around, they are getting bold and bolder. And I'm telling you, we would have taken lessons from the parliamentary primaries of 17th July. But even now, 24th, as I'm speaking from Zimbabwe, the army has taken over that election. The army, we had the Remiaga constituency, we had the Maugula South, Maugula West, etc. But the candidates there are crying foul because the army took over the election on the 17th. We did not take stock of what happened, and director would challenge you. If we had taken stock of what had happened, what had transpired, so that you find a solution to that, but we went full throttle into this of today.
Yeah, thank you. Honorable Dombo, violence and other irregularities other shenanigans have become permanent features in NRM elections. Can we take it that NRM is synonymous with messy primaries?
Dombo comes, they have slapped Nabanja, Prime Minister. I have seen clips when they are roughing up Ndunguse, who was Deputy IGP to Kaihura. I have seen Major General Kayanja crying, saying, Duroni, they brought Duroni. So this election is interesting.
Simon, one bit to add on to that.
Going to the details, causing communication blackout, like in Remiag. The internet and the telephone masts were all cut and vandalized. So with over 30 drones and double cabin pickups with covered number plates.
Now, Simon, supposing what my brother Sechko is saying was right.
It is, the photos in the newspapers.
What would have the NRM Secretariat done about that?
Yeah.
So, in this election, he has told you here that they received the register. They used it in the structure elections. But this time, they couldn't read it because of the circumstances that were prevailing. I strongly believe that this forms part of the evidence that my brother has submitted. The issues of Zimbabwe are a bit complicated. And I've
Yeah, but this is not peculiar to Zimbabwe.
No.
It's everywhere. You had the complaints of Honorable Namuganza.
I wanted to begin with Zimbabwe because the person I'm talking about is from Zimbabwe. The last time I talked to Honorable Sechkubo in the previous elections, you have seen how the alliances have kept shifting. Just recently, we hosted the Zimbabwe team at the Secretariat, and one of the former ministers came up to make very strong allegations in that meeting, even bringing in the name of the president until Dr. Tanga prevailed over her to say, no, you can't say this without providing evidence. I have heard that there is a petition that has been submitted, and now the person who is accusing Sechkubo is a co-petitioner with the Sechkubo. I don't know whether that is true, but that is going to be investigated. Now, I cannot get into the details of this without injuring the merits of the petition. There is something I want to correct. There are people who have read the president's letter and imagine that they were riots before the president set up the tribunal. The tribunal that the president has set up is a provision within the NRM constitution. And the president set up this tribunal before the elections were conducted. We hadn't communicated formally.
Yeah, but look, all petitions were going to Honorable Fred Jachano March.
That was wrong. That was wrong because the tribunal had been set up, but I think we had Dr. Tanga had communicated to all members, to all aspirants, and he had given them 5 days. The tribunal was set up before the 17th. The Central Executive Committee sat at the NRM Secretariat, and they debated the issues of setting up the tribunal. So that tribunal was set up before the elections were conducted. The president just communicated to re-emphasize that ordinarily there is no way people should be complaining to Dr. Tango Doi if Dr. Tango Doi has presided over the elections.
So why did Tanga's office now entertain petitions?
Dr. Tanga's office was receiving petitions. Even right now, the tribunal sits at Dr. Tanga's office, but Dr. Tang is not responsible for the tribunal. It is an independent tribunal set up by the chairman and the leadership of NRM in order to adjudicate on matters of the commission. So that one, people should know. Then secondly, already the decisions that the president made, they were both issues to be considered by the tribunal, but there are issues which are supposed to be considered by the police. There are people who have been arrested already. Actually, for these elections to be conducted today, Dr. Tango Doi had to seek a meeting with the leadership of the police to ask them to de-escalate. Because there are areas, there are districts where we shouldn't have conducted elections today if the old registrars had been arrested because of what they did in the previous elections. He requested them to reduce on the process of rounding up members until we conducted today's elections. There are districts where they took materials and the registrars were peeping, wondering whether the police was going to pick them today. So, the president's directive...
So you're all panicking now?
The president's directive is taking action. There are people who have been arrested. There are people who are behind the cells. There are those who had been given bond, police bond, in order to enable them process the elections today. But now that the elections are over, the police is going to continue with the authorization and directives that the president has given.
Thank you. Honorable Semuju, do you imagine that now the president's decision is beginning to bite?
Biting what?
There already are some arrests.
Those who have been arrested.
I mean, when in the recent picking of whichever form for NRM, they brought criminals on Kampala streets that went robbing people. have you seen them being tried?
They appeared in
and they
court.
took them to Luzira. You wait when they begin releasing them. In the previous elections in Chiboga, there was a conflict between the Honorable Ruth Nankabirwa and Siraji Nkugwa, who was the district chairman. Both of them had meetings in Chiboga, and they chose to move out of their locations at the same time. Nankabirwa and his guards were accused of killing 2 people, including an LC2 chairman. So when the shouting on NBS and other media ended, those 2 murders were never resolved. There was no interest. Nyanzi here, who I'm told now has returned as NRM candidate, he picked a gun from his bodyguard and shot and killed the person.
So is this window dressing?
They arrested Nyanzi and they discontinued the murder charges. The same applied to a Songa from Mbidde. You see these things, if you have lived here and you know Museveni, you will not go to sleep thinking that he's resolving anything. I have said his only interest in writing these letters is to calm the situation, but he's also to lure the supporters of Sechku and other victims to his side, such that he goes, because this is about himself, not about anyone else. So the supporters who are crying that their candidates were cheated, he must communicate to them that I am not the problem. It is Tango Doi. That's why, I mean, in an election of this nature, you mean Tango Doi was the one deploying military? Tango Doi was the one deploying police. So Tango Doi was the one roughing up people. Museveni, at every stage, he has sacrificed people. People who have worked with him, they all have left crying. Others think maybe he will change. He can't change. This is about him. So all these letters of his, the intention is not to resolve anything, because in the past he has resolved nothing. I have told you, his ministers have shot and killed the people.
Yeah,
They are
but there have
still
been instances where elections have been cancelled, rather results have been cancelled, and the aggrieved have been declared.
Yes, he can find 1 or 2 just as a ceremony to make him look like he's serious about what he's saying. But this matter, I can assure you, Museveni is already preparing his nomination, which will be, I think, in Nambole, where he will refer everybody. Kololo is being cleaned because he wants people who have come for NRM national conferences, women, veterans. He wants all of them in Kololo to build a very big crowd. That's why you have seen the Electoral Commission of Yabakama adjusting nominations for the president to coincide with Museveni's ceremonies. Because he doesn't have money to bring them in Nambo, they take them back and then they return. So the Electoral Commission has had to bring the dates closer, because that's the program that the Dombos have done. So all these things, you see, the work has been done. They are just playing out in the public. Museveni is going to resolve no dispute, but he will make sure that he speaks directly to the victims, he speaks directly to their supporters, because he needs all of them. So these letters are just to serve that purpose.
Honorable Mbidde.
You mean Museveni didn't know? Because the problems of Zimbabwe did not start with the polling day. They had started much earlier. The person who was killed was not killed on polling day.
Yes, that's true.
You mean all these things Museveni was not seeing, that now he wants to resolve issues that happen on the polling day?
They lied to him. They lied to him.
And
who had led a group of people to attack the army.
So what was the army doing in Zimbabwe?
Honorable Mbidde,
Yes.
has the country gotten to the extent of concluding that all NRM processes are always mired in violence?
There is only one major principle.
And why?
And of course, why? The answer is one. When you look at the NRM politics, the problem is not the problem, but the attitude of the leaders to the problem is the problem. Now, let me address now all of the aggrieved in NRM primaries. And I am stating this succinctly. In every political equation, there is always somebody who is just being used. Now, for you, the aggrieved, if you look around and you don't see that person, then it is you.
Being used.
Being used. All the aggrieved, and I repeat, in every NRM political equation, there is always somebody who is just being used. Now, if you have looked around and you don't see that person, then it is you who is being used. So, as you go ahead vending the extremes of this content, put that one in mind, that probably you are actually, pursuing grasshoppers in broad daylight. It is very unlikely that you can catch any, although they are extremely visible. And usually that is what happens. Number two, and this is for my brother, Honorable Sechikuo, they are usually indicators that it is about to rain. You don't need to be a scientist to discover that it is. And in such regard, it is extremely important for you to take very precautionary measures. Your roots are strong. And where your roots are strong, you don't need to get worried of the wind as a tree. Just move on. Because there's what we call the Pyrrhic victory. The kind of victory where at the end point of the victorious announcement, the casualties around and along the way cannot actually justify even the win that you have obtained. You have looked at champions. A champion who has been battered almost to near death, even if you are being given a belt and you cannot raise it in the air, that kind of a win is actually very, very dangerous itself. Honorable Sechikubo, you don't need to look for that kind of win. Just go to the constituency, pick your people, get to parliament. Like Honorable Semuju stated, I envisage a situation where on a presidential rally, President Museveni will equally recognize you and you will get to the ballot box and win. The time is now for you to recognize that one of the symbols that you have enjoyed.
Do you want him to go independent?
Of course. You can even join the DP. In any case, it is allegedly not in very bad books with NRM. So I will be happy to deliver your own ticket at your own village. In fact, wherever you please, even if you get to the tip of the tallest tree in your constituency, I'll bring it. Because clearly you are the kind of people that we need. Yes.
On the DP ticket.
Yes.
But
if it is indeed true,
Washande said is no.
No, if it is indeed true that we are in good books with NRM, please take up our ticket. It is the equivalent. So I will deliver it and they should leave you to also campaign and get to parliament. There is a very big problem. I do not find this, of course it is not glaring a state decision that a few people should be fought. But
okay,
I cannot guarantee.
You know how tribunals work?
Yes.
How grand is the job for this tribunal and how far do you think they can go?
No, the tribunal is going to be as consultative as those that declared the winners. It is not true that the tribunal can go against established standards by the eminence Greece. However, we will chase as wild goose. Because there is, I can tell you.
Are you part of it?
No, I am one of the lawyers instructed and I am happy. I will explore. I have looked. If there is anything I have studied, it is the law on political parties. I will do my job. Because I know the NRM rules. All the rules, electoral rules, political party rules, I know the laws in Uganda and I will argue. But I know that decision making sometimes is not commensurate with the amount of evidence provided, the kind of adjudication that exists. A decision can definitely be communicated by those that never attended the hearing. So, but we know, and that is how tribunals can work.
Honorable Sechikubo is running as an independent or a DP member. Anything on your cards?
No, for now, I've set my petition. I've submitted it. I'm awaiting the outcome.
There are people who are watching, you need to remind them that this Sechikubo had been chased from when
No, but I stayed.
Yeah,
But Njara, what I want to respond.
I remember the speaker couldn't find where to sit.
He sat there.
Yeah, not to go there.
Refugees.
One at a time. Really, one at a time.
It's back to haunt you now.
No. Because I usually follow up to the end. Then I see what happens next.
But you know the system that is fighting you and how entrenched it is. Can you break through it and get an NRM ticket?
No. That's what has always been said. I know I have a good case. Kagwa, like the director here. You see, you declare a winner out of the declaration of results forms. And now for 4 days running, I've been at the Secretariat and at plot 13, the Electoral Commission, saying that now I'm in this process. The president has opened the window for the aggrieved to petition. Can you show? Because I won, but then you switched and you declared another person. Can you share the DRA forms that you used, the number of votes that were scored by the declared winner, so that we can compare and put our case before the tribunal?
Whose office do you go to?
I've been to the Secretariat and I've been to the chairman, Electoral Commission's office. I said, no, go upstairs. Let's find you there. Let's get you the materials you were waiting for. But I learned that the DRA forms were picked from Zimbabwe on Tuesday. Now it is Thursday. It is not found anywhere at the Electoral Commission. And you can see it did not stop at the voting, but it follows through. The impunity is following through. If you say you declared someone with 16,000 votes, where did you base for you to make that declaration? Because I won, you changed the results, you announced somebody else, and the totals, the percentages, they are still 80%.
Is it Tango Doi who shortchanged you?
What I'm seeing, Tango Doi could be at the chair, could be the chairperson of the committee.
He deployed the registrar.
He deployed the registrars. And whoever is handling the election process does it on his behalf. He delegates. And I think what you raised earlier, and Honorable Mbidde, yes, I agree. Honorable Dombo here can agree, and I think has already agreed to that point. Yes, Dr. Tango Doi has done his part. He is now functus official. He cannot be there with the same person to arbitrate or to try to hear the petitions and the grievances. But he's still central in availing all this that is in his possession. The basis, the materials he used to declare a person, he is still at the center of that. And when we went up, he has been making front calls, asking his staff, what is happening? Where are the materials from Zimbabwe? Are they in Zimbabwe? Are the DRA forms in Zimbabwe? So I'm waiting.
That doesn't look overwhelmed.
No, what we are doing now, we are now from the chairman of Electoral Commission, we are now addressing our complaint to the chairman of the party. Because when he came out to the media to say that all of you were aggrieved, please, there is this avenue. And it is being frustrated. So the only alternative, the humble alternative we are remained with, is to raise and draw the attention of the chairman of the party.
Do you want to imagine that even the tribunal is going to be stranded in finding evidence? Because it's a little complicated.
The tribunal has to base itself on the materials presented to it. Because for you to say that you won, and it's now a question of the quantitative figures. Of course, there is the qualitative, the violence. We experienced death, that is qualitative. But now it will come to the quantitative. By how many votes did you lose? How many votes do you impeach from the winner? And that is now quantitative. And we are saying the tribunal can only do best if it is presented with all this. But Fortunately, we've been on record. When we started at the district returning officer's desk, we presented our request formally, which was never answered. Now we moved up to the chairman, Electoral Commission, Dr. Tango Doi. We addressed the same to him. For 2 days, now he said, no, I've handed it over to the director legal. And he himself is failing to come up with this.
Honorable Semuju, what are you reading in the shenanigans and the inner workings of the NRM in the midst of all this spotlight?
We went to court. Dr. Wesley has been in reserve for 250 days. Justice might have allocated these files to Justice Baguma. Justice Baguma has refused to hear the case. You go to his office, he says the files are in Nakawa. Nakawa said, USJ, you were committed to High Court for trial. So these things are common in Uganda. So Sechiko will look for the file, next they will tell you they are in Kigali. Maybe you'll have to hire an aircraft to go and pick them. So they are deliberate, because the case of Sechiko will not be resolved by the tribunal. It must be resolved by the Museveni family. If they say now, okay, Sechiko, we can allow you, they will allow him. So the
What is so peculiar about Sechiko?
But I have told
compared to Namuganza, Mbayo,
I
and the
have
rest?
told you, Muhozi has said this one is Guyana. And he said now Guyana is finished, you must come and carry my bags. Haven't you seen those postings? So you want anyone to pretend that they are in the tribunal dealing with Sechiko, where they deployed the 2 generals together with their guards. So the Sechiko issue is not going to be resolved by the tribunal. There are other issues, smaller issues they can resolve, but this one, no. So Sechiko went to the wrong address. That's where his petition went. His petition should go to the right address. He has put it to the wrong address. The smaller ones, I know some are going to be appointed RDCs, others are going to be promised, others, because I don't see the appetite and time to have this matter resolved. That means they are going to announce that we are repeating elections in 20% because Domo said they have performed above average, and he said his average is up 60. So even if it is 20% of the areas where there are problems, where they boxed in Nabanja, where they roughed up Ndunguse, where they shot people and killed them. So this area, Kayanja is crying. He says, Duroni, Duroni, Duroni. For us, we have been crying, Duroni is picking people on the streets of Kampala. Now he has also seen them in elections.
You mean the Geno? You mean Geno Kayanja?
Geno Kayanja.
Eli?
Yes. You've not seen him cry. Says these people are very bad. They brought drone here, 10 of them. So ask yourself, because I think Kayanja had someone against Chinyamatama. Maybe Kayanja doesn't know Chinyamatama. He will discover that there are people who are untouchable. So these cases that are before a tribunal, the tribunal is like a funeral committee. You are dead. So when you are dead, there must be a committee to organize your funeral. So Sechiko.
No, I thought a tribunal resolves disputes.
No, this particular one is a funeral committee. So death has been committed by the very people who are seeking to resolve it. So Sechiko is before a funeral committee to organize him a decent burial. So that's what they are doing. And many of them is going to be the same fate. But
you seem to be having a last laugh about what is happening.
I have told you, go back and see the murder in Chivoga, the murder in Mitiana, the murder in Mbale, whether there was even an attempt to have them resolved. Instead, the people who had murdered were in parliament, they were pardoned, matters were discontinued in courts once commonness returned. So this particular, and you need to read Museveni's letter carefully. He begins by celebrating. These are wonderful.
Glorious by-elections.
These are wonderful elections. 9 people turned up. Then he says, to him, that was most important. The by the way in his missive was now the problems. Now these problems, you can deal with them. But the idea was that, okay, they have never organized an election like this, so massive, 9 million, we have 9. Because Museveni is not looking at this election of NRM. Now the focus has switched to cheating in the next election And he will tell you after cheating in the next election that in the NRM election itself, 8 people voted. Then you can't accuse him of having people. But in my area, thank God, 9 people at the NRM polling station, 10, 20. In fact, in Ichira, I am not even sure that people realized there was an election going on. Because even me who drives past the polling stations, I didn't see any activity there, Dom.
The winner got 4,000.
After adding, where I stay,
total, yes.
there was 90 people, but they made them 900. And that happened in many areas, but at least here I was a witness.
I think we need to fact check this. Let's take a break and return shortly.